these kind of programs, not only do the kids come back happier and more lively, they are not missing as much school. Their grades are getting better. Their scores are getting better, and because it's all about how they feel like they belong.
Right.
Yeah, ultimately, it's all about that.
Hello, and welcome to the Admittedly podcast. My name is Thomas Caleel. I'm the former director of MBA admissions and financial aid for my alma mater, the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania. In this podcast, I don't promise easy answers or quick fixes, but I will use my decades of experience to help you achieve your education goals. Now let's get started. Hello, and welcome to the Admittedly podcast. I'm your host, Thomas Caleel, and today I'm joined by Mario Mendez, Community Accountability Manager and Senior Program Staff at the Wilderness Youth Project right here in Santa Barbara. Mario has been with WYP since 2009 and brings a truly global perspective. He's lived in South America, the Middle East, Northern Europe, and across the United States. His work spans youth mentorship, outdoor education, and community development, and he has spent his career helping young people build resilience, confidence, and connection through nature-based learning. I wanted to have Mario on because so many of the challenges I see in high school students, anxiety, burnout, lack of direction, disconnection from themselves, are deeply tied to the environments they grow up in. WYP is one of the most thoughtful programs I've seen in helping kids develop the skills that matter long before college applications. With that, Mario, thank you for being here. It's such a pleasure to have you here. We've talked previously. I have a deeply personal connection with WYP because both of my boys participated in your programs, and we just think the world of you and what you do. So it's an honor to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a great pleasure and an awesome opportunity. Thank you.
And amazing to have somebody with your kind of global vision and experience and reach here in Santa Barbara. What brought you to our little corner of paradise?
Well, two things. My brother and his young wife and young family were about to have a baby.
Okay.
And so I said to myself, I want to be closer to my niece and my family. And I moved from Tahoe, where I was living at the moment, and moved to Santa Barbara in 2009, in the spring of 2009.
Very cool. And obviously, I mean, we're just spoiled here, right? We get sunshine pretty much year round, and we're surrounded by a lot of natural beauty. But why does nature matter, right? Isn't education about what they're learning in the classroom?
No. Education is about everything. It encompasses everything that you can imagine. One of the biggest things, in my opinion, is nature. But there's so much social emotional learning. There is so much things that are outside of the classroom that make the student whole. It's not just what is taught there. It's everything else. It's all the different life experiences and everything that exist outside of the classroom and inside the classroom that make the student whole.
And so I love that, but just for our listeners, can you tell us a little bit about the Wilderness Youth Program? Like, what is it? What do you guys do?
Okay, so Wilderness Youth Project just turned 25. We've been around since 1999. I came in 2009. It's a nonprofit here in Santa Barbara that helps children and families find ways to connect to nature. And by doing that, we create a lifelong love for learning and just curiosity and wanting to be outside, and all that is learned from the environment and from nature.
Okay.
And so we have programs, after school programs, summer programs, at school programs, where we pull kids from school, and instead of school, we go and do nature connection and wilderness education. And It's been highly successful. It took us a while for people to really believe that that was necessary, and that was not only necessary, but it was needed by students.
Okay.
And now there's so much proof and there's so much data that indicates that that's really true. Our job isn't to convince people that it's right or that it should be done. Our job is to find the best way to make that happen with the students that we work with.
So help me understand if you would, because a lot of our audience is looking at highly selective schools, right? And so a lot of them are thinking, well, wait a minute, shouldn't I be doing Model UN or debate or math competitions? Like, yeah, nature, great, totally nebulous. I don't understand how this ties to me wanting to go to Princeton or Stanford.
Great question. I think being able to connect to nature and being able to find ways to connect to our surroundings and our land really brings a sense of belonging.
Okay.
And having a sense of belonging and having a sense of being able to have a deep sense of knowing of who you are can really bring out the best of who you are. It's hard to know. It's hard to really pinpoint what you're good at without knowing who you are first.
Right.
And nature and nature connection is such an important way to do that. And a lot of our job is to help students navigate the connection to land, connection to each other, and connection to oneself. So it's like a three-way spectrum that we are constantly navigating in. And I truly believe that if you have those tools that are taught to you by being outside and by really taking an intentional way of connecting to nature, you can bring your best self to Princeton or to whatever area that you want to be successful at. And not only in the admissions process, but in life. These tools are just great skills to have just to be human.
Yeah. Can you, because I very much agree with you, right? And a lot of the work that I've done over my career, a lot of the work we do at Admittedly is building the whole person. And I think that's one of the things that does make us unique is that we don't just focus in on like, okay, how are we going to write your essays? It's really this helping students discover who they are, what they like, and the path they want to go on. What would be an example of something you've seen students develop that is a life skill that helps develop them as a good human?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I believe that the biggest skill is self-awareness
Okay.
and awareness in general. Like we do a lot of things that involve deep tracking, and sometimes literally tracking. Like we track animals, so we find bobcat tracks, mountain lion tracks, bear tracks, and we're trying to replicate the behavior of what the bear did. Oh, the bear just ate from this tree over here, and it walked over here, and then it crossed this creek. We can spend hours, and that focused attention it creates these layers of awareness. Like we're aware of these bear tracks, but we're also aware of what else is happening around. What else is what is the climate doing? What is the wind doing?
Right.
And the more you do that, and the more you are aware of whatever is going on in your landscape, it creates this sense of awareness. And I've in my 20 years experience, I've noticed that kids nowadays are lacking awareness. They're lacking the ways to like really kind of like figure out what is really happening in the room. What is the mood? What did that person mean by what they said? That movement over there that just happened at the corner of my eye, I caught that, and this means this, and like being able to really,
Right.
really walk into a room and perceive what is happening. And I think that's a great skill to have, because then it
Absolutely.
translates to your self-awareness. How do your presence change the room? How does your presence, or what is that feeling that you have? And being able to name that, being able to be aware of that,
Right.
can really change your experience in any setting,
And sit in that comfortably, sit in that space comfortably.
or sit in the discomfort.
Or sit in the discomfort. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I have a question for you as a parent, and we have a lot of parents who follow the podcast. You're a parent as well,
Yes.
right? So many times, our children are, like this, right?
Mhm.
Every child, no matter what, right? It's a fact of life, and we as adults, many of us are guilty of that. Like, how do you pitch to the students, right? You pitch it to the parents. We want to get them outside and away from their screens. The parents are like, shut up and take my money. How do we do this? But the students might be resistant to that. So how do you approach the students? How do you sell, for lack of a better term, how do you sell the students on this vision?
For me, the sweet spot
Mm-hmm.
of nature connection, or in my experience, is around 4th grade. You get the kids
Okay.
around when they're 10, 11.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they're like the most, like, we want to be outside, we want to be playing,
Yeah.
we want to go on these epic adventures, we want to get dirty, we want to get wet, we want to do all these things. As time goes on, we start losing kids. When they turn 12, 13, they have new things that they want to explore. They have like more peer pressure. They have sports that they compete with. They have a lot of other basically their schedule just gets so full,
Right.
that nature connection or being outside goes on the back burner.
Exactly.
It's not seen as a necessity. Like, I'd rather my kid, do
This club, that club. Yeah, exactly.
than to go out and do that. I think the important thing is intentionality. If you have the intentionality of having deep nature connection, and if you find your local nature connection nonprofit or organization that has trained individuals that are doing that intentionally, that is the key. That's where the teens are like, whoa, my buddy is doing that, and they're doing really cool stuff, or they're doing things that are different, that are edgy. Teens love edgy stuff.
Yep.
That is independent.
Yeah.
The sense of independence is huge.
Yes.
So if it's something that's coming from them, instead of the parent telling you, go do that thing,
Yep.
then it becomes cool. And if it becomes cool, then they'll do it. And so having it be something that is coming from them, and then having adults that are experts or that are good at it,
Yep.
is key. Because I get a lot of this.
Yes.
Why would I pay Wilderness Youth Project to go outside if I can do it outside for free with my kids?
Right.
I'm like, your kid doesn't want to be outside with you.
Exactly. And as parents, we all recognize that. We remember when we were teenagers, like those figures and role models and coaches and mentors that we had that, we listened to, much to the consternation of our parents, right?
Yeah, and it's natural. I remember, like, whatever my dad or mom are doing, I don't want to do that.
Exactly.
That sounds so lame and boring.
Yep.
I want to do whatever my buddy Daniel and Juan Carlos are doing, because I really want to do whatever they're doing. So whatever they're doing,
Exactly.
that's where you come into play. Like, who do I want to surround my kids with?
Yes. Well, and I think one of the things, I get a lot of incoming heat on social media that I'm, ruining childhood for these kids and putting too much pressure on them. And, my reply to that is always, I don't treat them as being fragile. I've had the pleasure of working with high school students now for about 17 years. And I love their resilience. I love their enthusiasm. I love the fact that when who am not their parent, challenges them, and the parents will be like, oh, they can't do that. They won't do that. And these young people just not only meet that goal, but exceed it. And I love that. I love that challenge. I love that resilience. And it's what keeps me energized in this space. It's just these incredible people, young people that I meet where I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm okay with the future because I see the energy and unique perspective that they bring. And I think this is such a great way for them to develop it, outside that family unit, which obviously is important, but
Can I send a message to
please,
the parents?
send away.
Parents, stop getting in your kids' way. So kids know exactly what they want, and sometimes the parents,
Yes.
I mean, they, God bless them.
Yeah.
God bless us.
In most cases.
And I find myself doing this
Yes.
constantly,
Yeah.
where I'm like, I just got in my daughter's way. She was in a trajectory
Yeah.
of self-discovery, and I went like, hey, look at me. I'm here to guide you along this way. And my daughter's like, you just ruined it for me, Dad.
Yeah.
Like now I don't want to do it.
Right.
And so I think the big lesson, and this has been a big lesson for me, is to sit back and watch before acting. Sit back and really notice how resilient your child is, how truly magnificent these kids are without our constant intervention.
Yes.
And by us intervening and changing their landscape, what we're doing is a disservice to them. And I constantly brush up to that out on program. I even with my own daughter. My daughter the other day, she was like, Dad, help me do this. Help me do this. Help me do this. I think it was some homework. And I was like, help me do this. And I was like, no, I'm not going to help you. And then she said to me, Dad, you never help me. You never help me. And I remember when I was 5 years old, there was a tree, and this is a true story. There was a tree over here in a park called Tucker's Grove. And she went to Forest Preschool.
Yeah.
And her biggest goal in life for 3 years was to climb this tree.
I love those goals. I remember.
And so she couldn't climb this tree, and she started at 2.5. She couldn't. Then at 3, then at 4, and then I remember because I would go once a day to be like one of the teachers, and I was one of her teachers, and it's like none of the teachers would help her, and then she would turn around to me, Dad, help me climb the tree, and I'd be like, no, and she brought it up recently. You didn't help me when I was 5 years old to climb that tree. Do you remember that? I was like, yes.
Yep.
It was a proud moment for me because now you are so comfortable climbing trees.
Yes.
And you did it all on yourself, on your own. And I remember the day you climbed the tree. I have a picture. She cried happiness. She's like, I climbed a tree. I've been working on this for 3 years, and I climbed this tree. And fast forward, by you doing your own homework, it's kind of like the tree, Lala.
Yeah.
You are climbing your own tree, and you will have the tools to be able to do whatever you want. And as parents, we want to help the kid climb the tree. We want to do all these things to make their life easier. And what we're doing is making them less resilient, making it harder for them to navigate the real world out there.
Exactly. And that's a lot of the conversations I have with parents is, yes, your child is wonderful and we hear you, but the person reading their file they're not invested in their future. They want them to be successful, but they are viewing them through a very, very difficult lens, and we need to prepare them for that. But speaking of resilience, I have 2 hard questions for you. Not hard, but challenging questions for you. Number 1, a large part of our audience is urban, right? We look at our demographics like New York, Chicago, Atlanta. And it's great. And they're probably sitting there right now thinking, well, good for you living in Santa Barbara. And you can go, you're so lucky, go surf in the winter and hike the trails and, good for you. But I live on, West 83rd Street. So what am I supposed to do? How does this translate into in a different environment where you have different climates or a more, concrete jungle, for lack of a better term?
I grew up in Bogota. Bogota is a city of 9 million. There you go. And, and then, moved to Saudi Arabia and then moved to the Netherlands and back to Bogota and now in Santa Barbara. And it's safe to say that nature connection can happen within 5 square feet with a tree.
Okay.
This is a very common one. One of the grandmothers, one of my elders and my mentor said, my most memorable nature connection moments have been washing dishes. I was like, what? How does that work? Yeah. If I have a window and I'm washing dishes, I can see, I can recognize, oh, that's a scrub jay. That's the same scrub jay that came yesterday. And then, oh, that's that same, squirrel, or that's that same plant. Even inside your house, you can see changes happening within your plants. Like if I move a plant here, if I open this window, if I do this, it changes the whole space.
Right.
And it's and our grandparents knew that. Like my mom, she's deeply nature connected and she doesn't live in the woods. She has a connection with each of the plant that she waters. She has a connection with she opens a window and the same thing. She stares out the window without even being outside and has this pattern recognition. It's all about continuity, about going back to the same place, about revisiting that same thing, even if it's in a city. You can do that.
Yeah.
You can walk down the same street and I bet you there'll be 3 trees, and in those 3 trees, it's teeming with life.
Right.
You can find things there that takes time. And again, it's about awareness.
Right.
So if you find that awareness piece of, oh, I see the difference.
Yep.
I see, like, oh, every July this happens in this tree. Every autumn, there's a moment where you get so fascinated by it and so activated in a good way by it, that you start noticing. There's a ginkgo biloba tree in our office building, and we know if the trees change color a couple of days before it should.
Right.
So you're like, oh, this tree changed color 3 days before it did last year. I wonder if it's a trend. You start thinking about those things.
Exactly.
And so having a window is enough to create nature connection. And this is why I say I work with urban inner city kids here in Santa Barbara. They don't have access to nature that much. I'm like, walk to school, ride your bike to school. You live 3, and in those 3 blocks, see what you notice. You notice these things, you notice these other things. And I work with 4th graders that have never been to the ocean in Santa Barbara.
I'm going to say I've read those statistics in some of the WYP reports, and it's like literally living half a mile from the ocean, and they've just never been.
They see it, but they've never been.
And so I'm glad you brought that up, because it's actually a segue onto my second question, which is, bluntly, this seems very privilege biased and privilege heavy. These great programs that you can send your kids to, and they should be outside and interacting with nature. And there are certainly a lot of parents out there like, great, I'm working 3 jobs. That sounds great for you, privileged California people, but what do the rest of us do? But it sounds like you are doing work in across modalities.
Absolutely. One of Wilderness Youth Project's goal is for their participants, their staff, and their board to mirror the demographics of Santa Barbara.
Okay.
And Santa Barbara, right now, it's almost 50-50. You have 50% white and 50% mostly people Latin descent, people of color. And that is a goal that is true today.
Got it.
And that means that we get kids from every spectrum of that. Especially in the summer camps. And I love the summer camps because you get kids that you ask them, oh, what have you done this summer? And the kid is, our family just got back from Bali and we were surfing and we went to Indonesia and, whatever.
No.
And then we sit, kid next to him, what did you do this summer? I've been taking care of my little brother because my mom and dad are working.
Yeah.
And so I've been kind of with my little siblings for the last 3 weeks, watching TV and eating crappy food.
Yep.
And these are the kids. And the things that blows my mind is that they live half a mile away from each other.
Yeah.
Exactly. This kid lives in the Montecito and this kid lives in the east side. And then you see them playing together in the ocean. And then you see them like looking at each other's food and it's like, what's that? Oh, that's bok choy. Kids don't know what that is. Here's my Lunchable, whatever. And but those are the moments that you're like really creating these bridges. And so what we created was a program called Bridge to Nature. Okay. Specifically for these kids that don't have access. And we run them through schools that are heavy on the reduced and free lunch programs.
Okay.
And this means that most of these kids are underprivileged. And at the same time, they're kids that are of color.
Right.
And so we pull them out of school instead of staying at school doing math and English and all that. We pull them out. We take them away. We take them to the mountains, to the river, to the beach. We have a nature connection, wilderness education, adventure day.
Yep.
And then we take them back to school. And at the beginning, this is 12 years ago when we started, teachers were like, they're missing out on the reading.
Yeah.
What's going to happen to their math skills? There was a lot of rub because they're like, this isn't helping them academically. So this isn't helping us for testing, whatever. Now they're knocking at our door. Like most schools, like, please take our kids, because they've noticed that these kind of programs, not only do the kids come back happier and more lively, they are not missing as much school. Their grades are getting better. Their testings scores are getting better, and because it's all about how they feel like they belong.
Right.
Yeah, ultimately, it's all about that they feel like they're they belong outside, that they belong in as a community.
Yeah.
And just that's the power of being out in nature.
Yeah.
And also it's really hard to measure that because it's all about feeling.
Yes.
So my question for you is, how do you measure that when a teen is coming and applying for one of these schools? Like, how is there a way to measure that?
So it's very interesting you bring that up because in California, we have two of the most unique educational programs, I think, on the planet. One of them is in Ojai, the Thatcher School. And it's particularly interesting because basically when you go there as a new student, and generally it's ninth grade, they assign you a horse. And most of these students have never ridden before. And we've got, there are students there from Hong Kong. There are low-income students, first-gen students who have never seen a horse before, let alone been responsible for one. And 7 days a week, you have to go out in the morning, 7 a.m. sharp, clean the stall, clean the horse, clean the water trough, feed it, ride it 6 days a week in the afternoon, get on that horse and learn how to ride it. And then in the evening, you have to, take care of it, brush it, put a blanket on it, and feed it again. And they have a saying that the outside of a horse is good for the inside of a human. And watching the transformation of these students, the responsibility, and one of the most meaningful things for me was going on a family parents weekend and watching these students from, Beijing, Shanghai, Bangkok, Tokyo, and the parents were like fussing, and they're like, no, no, this is my space. I know what I'm doing. You're welcome to come help. Otherwise, just stay there. I've got it. And, this one young lady, tiny, right? And at just taking charge, right? Like speaking to the horse, moving the horse, hauling this huge, heavy Western saddle, and just watching that transformation has been really exceptional. And that is pretty much their founding philosophy, is what you're talking about. And then the next one is actually my favorite. I get asked all the time, like, what's your favorite college or university? Is a place called Deep Springs in the high desert in California. That's a working cattle ranch, and the students have to, like, right, they run the books, it's a working enterprise, it's fully funded, full scholarship. If you're admitted, you don't pay a dime. They just recently went co-ed, maybe like a 7 to 10 years ago.
It was all boys
It was all boys before. And it's exceptional. And these students, it's a 2-year program, and then they all go out to like Harvard, Stanford, Yale, Princeton, because exactly what you're saying, these admissions officers look at them and they're like, wow, the resilience, the independence, the creative thinking, the problem solving. And that's something that is, all the parents that I talk to want that. How do I get that for my child? And as you're saying, it's hard work, right? And it's hard to, it's on one hand hard to communicate because it's hard to quantify, but at the same time, as somebody who's read tens of thousands of files and essays, it's immediately clear. When these students have a voice, when they have independence, when they have, as you said, this self-awareness and self-reliance, it is so immediately clear. The first sentence of those essays, you're just like, yes, that's the person.
One other thing is storytelling. And storytelling is such a big part of the Wilderness Youth Project culture. And thanks to WYP, I've been able to sharpen my own storytelling technique and stories, because I'm still telling stories all the time, and then finding ways in where kids can tell stories, and storytelling is so important. And I think that goes hand in hand with that independence and that resilience piece, because I think storytelling in the admissions process is so important too. Like the way a student can tell their story and tell it in an authentic way is key. But how do you hone in story? There isn't like a storytelling school. Storytelling comes from life and from life experiences. And we give kids these opportunities to like really hone in on storytelling technique, and also modeling that. Like a big part of our culture in Wilderness Youth Project is being able to be good at storytelling. And it takes so many years. I've been doing this for 20 years, and just now I feel like I'm pretty good at it. And I've bombed so many times with every age group, with every, but I keep practicing. It's almost like being a comedian. You have to keep doing it and keep doing it in order to get good at it. And at the same time, being a good storytelling is about having a rich life, really.
Yes.
And having a rich life is having different variety of experiences. And I'm all about having kids having as many experiences as possible to make them more complete.
And just for the record, I did not tee him up to say that. I just want everybody to know that. Last year, I did a whole series on storytelling and the importance of storytelling. And I think one of the things I love about storytelling is, yes, a rich life, but before people out there panic, I urge a lot of people, like, go listen to the Moth Radio Hour on NPR or on social media, because what I love about the Moth, for example, is that they can take, you have storytellers there who have had deeply rich life experiences, and then you have storytellers there that take a a very, very normal, like washing the dishes, right? And telling a story about that, about growth and learning. And it's exactly that. And I think that storytelling is so important, not just in admissions, but how you relate to people, how you persuade people, how you stake out and hold your space in the world in relation to other people. It's storytelling. And so I'm glad to hear you say that. And I agree with you. I'm what, 53 years into this adventure, and still feel like I'm just now being able to tell stories effectively.
Yeah, it comes a lot of inner tracking, a lot of tracking others. Like when you're telling a story, you got to be kind of aware of how the pace of the story. Am I talking like this? Am I putting people to sleep? Which sometimes is the goal.
Yeah.
And if you're really good at it, if you're really good at it, you'll find like 5 kids nodding off, or even around the fire.
Oh,
That's they're the best times. But, and I think it's something worthwhile exploring, because it also gives such a deep sense of meaning to a young adult, like being able to tell stories. Because nowadays kids, there's so many stories that are being told on their phones that they have no um need to create original stories.
Yes.
Everything's already been told.
And I think, and I know how I sound when I say something like this, but I think the lack of reading and critical writing in school curricula now is very, like, the ability to read and tell yourself a story in your mind is so important to development. I tell all my students constantly, I say this on the podcast all the time, like, you have to read. I don't care what you read. You want to read graphic novels? Go for it. You want to read fiction, nonfiction, biographies, a map, whatever it is, like, engage your imagination, and that will help you to tell your own story. As you listen to the way other people are telling their stories, it really gives you a framework and an idea to experiment and try things, right? We never get it right the first time. So I want to, like, I love the theoretical framework. I love, you have such a beautiful high level vision for this, and why it matters and how it matters. But let's pull it back a step, and it kind of relates to a previous question I've asked. But, I'm a parent in a city. I'm a parent in a suburb outside of Indianapolis, for example. This all sounds great. Like, what tangible steps? I don't live in Santa Barbara. I can't call you up and enroll my child. What tangible steps can I take now with a child who's going to probably be resistant? How do I start to implement this into our life?
It's all about modeling. It's all about being able to put yourself as a parent in an uncomfortable position. Maybe you have the thought that, I don't go outside. Why would my kid go outside? Put yourself in that situation. Like, go outside, explore new things, and try. Hit up your local Sierra Club. Join a creek cleaning or river cleaning or beach cleaning club, just to see how that is. It doesn't have to be huge, giant steps. It doesn't have to be like pack your car and go to and spend a week in the Sierras, or it doesn't have to be that. Take small steps, and I think it all has to do. It all nails down to being curious.
Right.
If you are curious, your child will be curious about it. If you are curious about I wonder what. Let's check out that trail over there. Why, Dad? I don't want to do that. I'm curious what's back there. I heard like there's an old mine up there.
Yep.
Whatever. I heard that there's, just follow your own curiosity, because there's nothing more powerful than a kid's curiosity. And I've learned, I've seen kids go in real time. I've seen kids being like, wow, I wonder if we can find any octopus in this place. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm really bad at finding octopus. But there's kids that have like this tracking thing. They're really they find them. I've met a kid that found 17 octopi in one day at the same beach, just because he just had it in him.
That's amazing.
And so that kid, his obsession with octopi just carried on for years.
Yep.
I was like, man. And then he started researching, and then he started doing different things. He went to school for for marine biology.
I love that.
Just because.
Yep.
And I saw it happen. He was in 5th grade, and he was really young, and it just carried on for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
And that trajectory took him there.
Yeah.
And so, and it was because of curiosity.
Exactly.
And there are things that can really harm the curiosity of a kid, and it normally comes from a parent.
Yes.
Blocking that curiosity.
Yes.
Who cares about the octopi? You're going to be you're going to be a lawyer.
Yeah, exactly.
Why do you care about the octopus?
Yep.
Or a kid that's obsessed with anything.
Yep.
Worms. If your child is obsessed with worms, follow the worm through the worm to wherever that will take you. That will probably take you to a place of passion for your child. Yes. And if you find that passionate place, you find a child that will be happy further on with the choices they made in life. Yes. And not a child that will resent their parents for making them do something they didn't want to do.
Exactly. In the words of one of the great philosophers of our time, Ted Lasso, be curious, not judgmental. But I think the point you make is very well taken, and it's something that we really try and drive through all our messaging to our families is everything doesn't need to line up perfectly. And when you're on the other side, when you're making admissions decisions, you want these students that are just like deeply geeking out, for lack of a better term, on something or two things, because it's that depth of intellectual curiosity, that fearlessness, that relentlessness where you're like, this is a cool person to talk to, right? And we've all been in a situation where we meet somebody who does something maybe we just have no familiarity with or never even thought about, but they're so deeply passionate about it. And you're like, okay, that's really, really cool. Right? I had a student, for example, who was a local Santa Barbara student, and they would go to the ocean and surf. And one day they saw, like those baby great whites that shoot the crest of the waves in carp. And he was like, I didn't know there were great whites here. And so that led to research, that led to a project, that led to him reaching out and contacting this really famous drone photographer who tracks great white sharks. And a lot of his work is done off the coast of carp. And he was like, yeah, kid, sure. Like, you contacted me. I respect the hustle. Come out and I'll show you what I do. And he made this whole project and documentary, on these great whites and how the migration happens. And it was just something that he's not going to be a marine biologist. He's not even into science as much, but it was just like that depth of curiosity that translated over to a very successful admissions cycle. And that wasn't even what he was aiming at. He just went to the beach one day, was like, that's a great white shark and the crest of that wave. That's really cool. So yeah, I love that example. So it sounds like you work with a really broad range of students, right? And we've talked a lot about self-reliance, independence, curiosity, all of those great things, and how they may or may not translate to an admissions process. Are there any specific groups of young people for whom this is particularly relevant or particularly impactful?
Yes. I believe it's important for everybody, but there are, young children that score high on the ACE, which is adverse childhood experiences.
Okay.
And it doesn't necessarily have to do with privilege or not privilege. That already scored an
adverse childhoods are
yes. That
that can happen to
anyone.
Yeah.
Like, it could be divorce, a parent being incarcerated, substance abuse, alcoholism, neglect, all these different
of family.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so I think the message that I want to say is that there are people no matter where they live, no matter how much is in their bank account, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that are going through tough times.
Mm-hmm.
And time outside in nature and time with with somebody that cares about you and that really wants to connect with you, positive connections, and and doing things that are physical, like
Right.
exercise. Those three things are covered by Wilderness Youth Project. Those are
Great.
3 of 7 stress busters. One is time in nature, having a positive experience of a connection, and exercise.
Got it.
And there's very few other nonprofits that can cover 3 out of 7 stress busters.
Okay.
You know,
Fair
and so I'm really privileged to be able to work with kids and young adults in a way that we are at solving some of the problems that are out there. And so, um, and so it's a great solution to the current problematics that kids are going through. It's a great solution in being able to pull kids away from screens.
Yes.
It's a great solution in finding alternative ways to connect.
Yeah.
That's not through Snapchat or whatever.
Yes.
It's like literally connecting. That creates long-lasting bonds and resilience. And one more thing that I wanted to add was long-term. Our whole thing's about creating long-term relationships.
Right.
It's not a one-off. You go one summer camp and then I won't see you ever again.
Right.
Our model is we have a continuity. I've met kids that just went off to college.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I met them when they were 4 years old.
I love that.
And they just went off to college, and I've seen their process going through all of this. I'm old enough that I'm having second generation kids in my program.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing.
Where
I
I'm
work
right.
with second generation students as well, and it's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, what's your name? Oh, my name is Julio. Oh, you know my mom. I was like, all right.
Okay.
All right. Who is she? Yeah, she was your student in 4th grade. I'm like, the first reaction was like, wow, I'm so old. I'm so old. But it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And then you see
It is.
Luna, his mom, show up and is like, hi, Mario. You know, wow, you have a kid. I met you in 4th grade. I took you to the beach for the first time. I was there the first time you climbed the tree.
I love that. And so for parents who might be thinking, okay, I'd like to learn more about this, even though I'm not in Santa Barbara, for example, but just get a sense, like how do they learn more about Wilderness Youth Project?
Oh, I'll add on all of the links. I'll add the links onto the Stress Busters, which is a great tool to have.
Great.
I'll also add ways that parents can connect or help kids connect in precisely what you asked. How like first time parents, like how like introductory level.
Yeah.
We give them like hints, like you should or advice.
Mm-hmm.
Go for a walk. Do quiet time, all these different things, quieting of the mind, all these different things that parents can do to help them basically have a calmer way to connect with themselves and with nature. And I'll also include a list of sister schools across the U.S. and
Thank you
all
very
over
much.
and all over. There's some in Asia, some in Europe, that kind of follow the same values that we follow, that are non-faith based, that we really believe in, and that we share a lot of common knowledge.
Mario, thank you for sharing your insight, your experience, and the incredible work you're doing to reconnect kids with nature, curiosity, and themselves. For our listeners, if you want to learn more about the Wilderness Youth Project or find ways to bring more exploration and unstructured discovery into your child's life, we'll link resources below. And as always, you can find more college admissions support at admittedly.co, that's admittedly.co, and on Instagram and TikTok at admittedlyco. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your feedback and your comments. What do you think about connecting to nature? How do you think it might benefit your child? Or if your child has connected to nature, how have they benefited from that? How have you benefited from that as a family? Please drop in the comments. I'm in the comments, in the DMs every day, answering your questions, responding, and we all learn more through our community. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode. Mario.
Thanks so very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us today. Please take a moment to subscribe to the Admittedly podcast and download this episode. I welcome you to share your thoughts and questions with me. You can find us on social media at Admittedly Podcast. I look forward to continuing